This is called December, a proposition of movement. And these early poems basically are in Maine, Mount Desert Island and Portland, in the first early years of my marriage and children. I am thinking of Christmas, whether to go out and buy gifts for my family, of how women shouldn't have to band together in flocks to get things done. I am thinking about 48 bombing sorties per day over the Ho Chi Minh Trail to stop trucks from loading and unloading supplies for a war. And of the land our house sits on, how at 4:30 p.m. the afternoon sunlight slants on the ball he has flung to me on December 2nd, when it's not yet snowed. I tried to get Spindle, gray cipher of a cat, back into the house, chasing him only deeper into the woods, noticing the back of the barn, which looks good, where we started shingling blonde wood over gray last summer, and the duck house and chicken house, which maybe we can have some chickens and ducks next spring. And how maybe we can live here after all, although there is a ghastly war going on and a new house building in what was a soft glen with a stone wall before it, across Mitchell Road in Cape Elizabeth. Even though the country is overblown, a giant balloon fish full of hooks, too insensitive to even know the body of Christ. Let the Maker be heard. Let the soul's parts come together and violent acts cease for limbo and rebirth. Let all who murder deer and humans and birds circle endlessly if they do not renounce their unintentional, intentional acts. Make way for those who care for the land and word and the spirit tucked in the souls of every living thing. There is a man named Harry Coombs of Peabody Coal Company doing strip mining on the Navajo reservation at this very moment. Let him mine his own body endlessly without stop, all his lives, his spinal cord is corkscrew, anus filled with sand in burrows, in caves, in tunnels, an inept snake digging without surcease. Growing up in Colorado, I have listened to the dirge of this man all my shadowed life. Let the holy earth people grow powerful and expunge him and his puny mechanistic band from Navajo land. Make them fly. Let the Diné again graze their sheep near open, clean waters, taking flight to the mesas when fall comes. There is a morphology of landscape strong as the lines in a poem, formed when the alphabet was shaped by blackbirds flying ovals overhead. This won't be improved by any form of strip mining. Let behemoth reign, let the sea monster come to us. Let him spread his briny weight onto all our parts and days. Let the Lord of light be shining again, the stars embedded in our holy earth people's foreheads. So kind of keeping your mind on whether that's true, that each poem, as well as being thought of as these ones, artistic, spiritual process, are kind of a mix of spiritual, artistic, and relationship. I think it's pretty hard to live through a day without mixing all three of those. This is called The Woman Who Thought of Herself as a Girl. And this is a prose poem. So basically I'm a poet who, in developing over the years, moved towards prose and towards fiction. And even these early books had some stories in them, which we call prose poems. And when I was putting the books together, I was like, should I put these in, or should I take them all out and put them in a book of stories? And my daughter Miranda, when given that problem to solve, said, no, you should keep them in. They definitely showed that then you were thinking like this and writing like this, and you can't just cut them out because they were part of what you were doing. And she was, of course, right. This is take one, the woman who thought of herself as a girl. She was limited, but not alone because of her children. She had been limited as a child, a teenager, a young lady. Now she was limited as a stunted woman, roped into a cycle of too much Thorazine and in and out of Maine State Hospital. But still, as she said to everyone, she was not yet a freak. She dwelt in the house of ordinariness. Her house was as difficult to live in as the hospital, it was clear. The one was respite from the other, but each had its own craziness. Never had there been piping in the sounds of a world of richness and calm, but only incessant demand. Before the children, it was the demand to produce the children. When they were babies, it was all right. There were enough images in her head about babies to make that condition tolerable. But as they grew older, their specific selves took on form, and their needs nudged into demands. She could see the hydra head she produced getting out of hand. She was a creek run dry. When she lifted one heavy foot before the other, small eddies of sand sifted down into her empty footprints. She guessed she had not brought the separate things in her life together sufficiently tight to form a mesh. She felt herself drifting out through the large loopholes in her life's existence as the television blared. When she chatted with a neighbor, the sameness of life she had always known waved into focus and reassured her. But even as she walked back into the house, she heard the dull roar which preceded panic. She judged she might get to the kitchen table before it overtook her, and wondered what the road outside would look like then. When Melinda saw her taking her slow walk each day, sometimes she went to the road and walked with her just for the company. Melinda listened to her talk. It was much the same as the other neighbor women's, except nicer, less catty. It seemed for all of them the world resided in units of sameness. The same material was gone over and over again. The town, what to buy, what cost a lot now, what one had bought at the giant discount store. When the husbands went to guards for the weekend blended into the weekdays. People were pretty much the same, except that some were rowdier, some more shiftless, and therefore had less means. Men had most to do outside. Inside was mainly TV. There was not much to learn, rather a right way to do things, having to do with neatness and orderliness, and a wrong way. The woman who thought of herself as a girl knew the neighbors thought she was crazy. She was embarrassed about the hospital, that she had to go there. But her house was as neat as anyone's, wasn't it? And she certainly stayed home. She didn't run around as some of them did. No matter what happened, she would stay home as long as her children needed her.